All right, so get ready, because today we're going deep on something pretty fascinating. Spiritual awakening. We're going to be using this, well, kind of unique online test. It's from a site called The Spiritual Seek to guide us.
Okay.
And they actually claim it's more in-depth than, like your typical online quiz you see everywhere.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So let's see if they actually live up to that promise, right?
I'm definitely intrigued. What exactly caught your eye about how they're approaching this whole thing?
Well, their definition of spiritual awakening, it really emphasizes this shift from materiality to spirituality. They actually go as far as to call, like, the physical body a prison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for the immortal spiritual component.
Interesting.
So I don't know. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, that's pretty evocative imagery. I think what they're trying to get at is this idea that our physical existence has limitations, right?
Okay.
It's a concept that you actually see echoed in a lot of different spiritual traditions. It kind of reminds me of Plato's allegory of the cave.
Ooh.
Where people, they mistake like shadows for reality. So maybe this test is kind of suggesting that there's like this more expansive reality out there that we're not fully grasping yet.
Ah, okay. I see the connection. Okay, so the test itself, it's structured around 27 questions.
Okay.
And they're divided into 5 spheres of interest, they call them.
Okay.
Detachment, disillusionment, inconvenience, symptomatology.
Wow.
And then a 5th one that's unnamed, like a mystery sphere.
Ooh, mysterious. I like it.
So what do you think about this categorization? What do you think they're going for here?
Well, it's interesting how they've broken it down. It seems like these categories, they kind of represent different facets of this whole spiritual awakening journey.
Okay.
For instance, like detachment.
Yeah.
Maybe that's exploring how letting go of material possessions can be a step towards liberation.
Like almost like that Buddhist concept of non-attachment.
Exactly. So it's not just about like, giving up your stuff, but it's really about the underlying mindset, right?
Yeah. More of a mental shift than a physical one.
Exactly. Then you have disillusionment, which I think could delve into like questioning those pre-existing beliefs, societal norms.
Right.
And maybe even touch on this concept of ego death, which you find in a lot of mystical traditions.
Oh, okay. Like shedding those old layers of identity that no longer serve you.
Precisely. Now, inconvenience is that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I feel like that might highlight those discomforts, the challenges that can arise when you step outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
And challenge those conventional ways of living.
So maybe this is where they explore the growing pains.
Yeah.
That can come with spiritual evolution.
Yeah, I think so. It could be about confronting those aspects of our lives that are holding us back from growth. Right. And then we have symptomatology, which could refer to those unusual experiences or shifts in perception that can come along with spiritual awakening, right? Makes me wonder if they're going to touch on things like altered states of consciousness,
Right.
Or even the concept of Kundalini awakening.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it seems like they're acknowledging that this process can affect us on all these different levels, not just, intellectually.
Yeah, totally. So what about that mysterious unnamed sphere?
Right.
Any theories?
Well, it's definitely piquing my curiosity. Perhaps they're leaving it open for individual interpretation.
Okay.
Allowing like a more personal or nuanced aspect of awakening to kind of emerge.
Ooh, I like that. I do love a good mystery. Okay, let's jump into some actual questions from the test.
Okay, yeah.
One that really stood out to me was, regarding your family, have you ever perceived yourself as a black sheep? And this falls under the sphere of detachment. So what kind of detachment do you think they're getting at here?
It seems to be probing that sense of not quite fitting in, with family expectations or values.
Okay.
And this feeling of being like the outsider.
Right.
It can be a catalyst for seeking those alternative paths, maybe even a spiritual one, I mean, remember the Buddha himself, he left his whole privileged life to go seek enlightenment.
Oh, that's a great example. So maybe this question is looking at how feeling different can almost push us towards self-discovery.
Yeah, I think so. It could be about recognizing that sometimes we need to detach from those familial or societal expectations to really truly find ourselves.
That's powerful. Okay, here's another question I found pretty interesting. Can a person please everyone and be sincere at the same time?
Ooh.
This one's under the sphere of disillusionment.
So this is challenging that societal expectation, right, of pleasing others.
Right.
They're asking you to consider whether that's actually compatible with authentic self-expression. It makes me think of Carl Jung.
Okay.
His concept of individuation. That process of becoming a unique and integrated individual.
Oh, that's a really interesting connection. So maybe this question is prompting us to think about what we might need to let go of, to become more fully ourselves.
Exactly.
What do you think about this next one? A life without is not worth living.
Yeah.
What word would you put in place of the question marks?
Ooh, that's a good one.
This is under inconvenience, which I find kind of intriguing.
It is definitely thought-provoking. They're basically asking you to confront those core values of yours, right?
Right.
To identify what's so essential to you that life wouldn't feel meaningful without it. Makes me think of Viktor Frankl's work.
Okay.
On finding meaning in suffering.
Right.
He found that even in, like, the concentration camps, those who held on to a sense of meaning, they were more likely to survive.
Wow, that's a powerful example.
Yeah.
So this question's getting at that deep inner drive, that thing that gives us purpose even in the face of difficulty.
Yeah, absolutely.
This next one really surprised me. Have you ever dreamed of flying?
Interesting.
It's under symptomatology.
Okay. Well, dreams of flying, they're often associated with a sense of freedom, right?
Yeah.
Transcendence. In the context of spiritual awakening, maybe it symbolizes a desire to break free from limitations. Whether those limitations are physical, mental, emotional. Reminds me of the Sufi mystics, who use poetry and dance to experience a sense of spiritual elevation.
That's beautiful imagery. Okay, this one from the symptomatology section really made me pause. Some people appear dull, as if they were flesh robots. Others have a divine spark in their eyes. What do you think about that?
I think this is exploring the idea of recognizing that deeper level of consciousness in others, or awareness. It kind of reminds me of the concept of soul recognition, found in some spiritual traditions, the idea that you can actually sense the depth of another person's being.
I see. It's like we start to see beyond the superficial and perceive this kind of inner radiance in some people.
Exactly, yeah. It suggests a shift in perception, a heightened sensitivity to the subtle energies that are all around us.
Yeah. All right, one last question before we move on. What makes you feel free?
Oh, I like that one.
This one's from the inconvenience sphere.
This is a beautiful question because it's so personal. The answer can actually reveal a lot about what brings us joy and liberation.
Yeah.
You know, it prompts us to examine those aspects of our lives that align with a sense of genuine freedom.
And perhaps those areas where we might feel a bit restricted or limited.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It could be an invitation to look at what we might need to detach from in order to experience that greater freedom.
I like that. It's subtle but powerful. Okay, so we've explored some pretty intriguing questions.
Yeah.
But this test, it claims to offer more than just a score.
Really?
It provides personality traits, charts, insights, and get this, even a personalized certificate of awakening.
A certificate of awakening.
Yeah, I know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it might sound a bit whimsical at first.
Yeah.
But maybe the certificate kind of symbolizes a commitment to personal growth.
Okay.
A reminder that you're actively engaged in this journey of self-discovery.
That's a good point. It's like a tangible representation of embarking on this path.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's touch on the user reviews.
Okay.
One that stood out to me said, "I've done other spiritual awakening quizzes, and this one is the most serious." Another one said, "Awakening in progress. That's exactly how I currently feel, having recently entered a new phase of my life where I want to be truly myself to the fullest."
Wow.
So what are your thoughts on these responses?
Well, it's fascinating to see how people are engaging with this test. It speaks to those diverse motivations people have for even exploring this concept, right?
Right.
Some might be seeking validation. Others might be looking for guidance. Ultimately, it seems to be resonating with those who are actively on a path of self-discovery.
It seems like this test it's tapping into this real desire for deeper meaning and authenticity. But there's still more to uncover. Join us in part 2 as we delve deeper into the insights and features this test has to offer.
Welcome back to our deep dive, into spiritual awakening.
So last time we were talking about how this online test is really, sparking some introspection for people.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about this whole concept. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to spiritual
It's
awakening.
all about that individual journey, right?
Absolutely. Speaking of guidance, I'm curious to hear more about those personality traits, charts, and insights that the test claims to offer.
Okay, so the spiritual seek says the test generates like a profile, highlighting your strengths and weaknesses related to spiritual growth.
Okay.
They also have something called a cosmic energy chart, which sounds pretty intriguing.
A cosmic energy chart, huh?
Yeah.
I'm picturing some kind of visual representation of your energetic alignment with different aspects of spiritual awakening.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have an actual test result to look at, but it could show like how you score in each of those spheres of interest. Attachment, disillusionment, inconvenience, and symptomatology.
It could highlight areas for growth. I'm curious, do you see any parallels between this cosmic energy chart and concepts from other spiritual traditions?
It reminds me of the chakra system in Hinduism and Buddhism.
Right.
Each chakra represents a different energy center in the body.
Right. Yeah.
And imbalances can manifest as like physical or emotional issues.
That's a great comparison.
Right.
Just as the chakra system maps our subtle energy, perhaps this cosmic energy chart aims to provide a snapshot of our spiritual energy, indicating areas where we might need to focus our attention.
It's like a roadmap for our inner landscape, highlighting potential blockages and areas of strength.
Exactly. And beyond those charts and personality traits, they also promise to provide insights. I imagine these are like personalized interpretations of your results.
So not just a score, but an explanation of what that score might actually mean for you.
Right. It could offer suggestions for further exploration or growth based on your unique energetic profile.
Like tailored guidance for navigating the different facets of spiritual awakening.
Exactly. For example, if someone scores low on detachment, the insights might offer advice on cultivating non-attachment. Perhaps drawing from Buddhist teachings or mindfulness practices.
That would be incredibly helpful. It's one thing to get a score, but it's even more valuable to have some context and practical tools to work with.
Absolutely. It's about empowering you to take ownership of your spiritual journey.
Okay, I have a confession. I'm a sucker for personalized stuff. So I have to admit, I'm kind of curious about this personalized certificate of awakening they offer.
I understand the appeal. It's a fun way to mark a commitment to this path. Do you think it could also be a conversation starter? Someone might see it and ask, what's a certificate of awakening?
I hadn't thought about that. It could be a way to open up discussions about spirituality with others.
Exactly. It could be a subtle invitation to explore these topics.
But on a more serious note, what are your thoughts on the overall value of taking a test like this? Can you really assess something as complex as spiritual awakening through a series of multiple choice questions?
That's a great question. I think it's important to approach these tests with a healthy dose of skepticism.
So we shouldn't take the results as the absolute truth.
Right. Remember, these tests are based on predetermined questions and answers. They can't possibly capture the full depth and complexity of each individual's experience.
Like, how can a multiple choice question fully encapsulate the feeling of having a divine spark in your eyes?
Exactly. It's simply not possible. So if we shouldn't take the results too literally, what's the point of taking a test like this?
What can we gain from it?
I think the real value lies in the self-deflection it prompts. The process of answering the questions, even if they feel imperfect or incomplete, can spark introspection and encourage us to consider aspects of our lives we might not have thought about before.
So it's more about the journey of taking the test than the destination of getting a score.
Precisely. It's about using the test as a tool for self-discovery, a way to initiate a deeper exploration of our own beliefs, values, and experiences.
It's like the test acts as a mirror, reflecting back to us aspects of ourselves that we might not have been fully aware of.
That's a great way to put it. And in that sense, it can be a valuable stepping stone on our spiritual journey, even if the results themselves are just a starting point.
That reminds me of the Zen saying, the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. The test is just a finger pointing us towards a deeper truth.
I like that analogy. It reminds us that the true awakening happens within, not on a computer screen.
Speaking of inner awakenings, let's revisit that unnamed sphere of interest in the test. Do you remember any specific questions from that category?
Yes, there was one that asked, looking back on your past, have there ever been any major changes in the way you are? What are your thoughts on that one?
It seems to be about recognizing those pivotal moments in our lives where we might have experienced a shift in consciousness or perspective.
Those transformative experiences that shape who we are and how we view the world.
Exactly. It could be anything from a major life event to a profound realization, to a sudden change in values or beliefs.
Those aha moments where everything suddenly clicks into place.
And those shifts often mark significant steps on the spiritual path, right?
Yes, they represent moments where we've shed old ways of thinking and embraced new perspectives. And by reflecting on these past transformations, we gain a deeper understanding of our own journey.
It's like piecing together the puzzle of our own evolution.
Exactly. Here's another question from that unnamed sphere. Have you ever experienced some of these symptoms under normal health conditions? Which ones? And then they list a range of symptoms.
Okay.
Like feeling a strong discomfort in doing things that everyone usually does, observing things and people as if you were not part of the context, and having an insight, and simultaneously feeling tingles and pressure on your head.
This one seems to be acknowledging that spiritual awakening can manifest in the physical body and how we perceive the world.
It's exploring the more experiential aspects of this process. While these experiences can be intriguing, it's important to approach them with discernment.
So not every unusual sensation is a sign of spiritual awakening.
Right. It's important to rule out any medical or psychological factors.
And even if the experiences are spiritually related, they're just one aspect of a much larger journey.
Precisely. But we've been so focused on the test itself, we haven't even talked about the bigger picture, the website, the spiritual seek. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it's all about self-discovery. They have a whole collection of tests, quizzes, and articles on various topics from spirituality and personal growth to psychology and philosophy.
It sounds like a treasure trove for anyone interested in exploring these areas. What other kinds of tests do they have?
Oh, they have a ton. A spiritual awareness test, a great personality test, an emotional intelligence test, a logical intelligence test, a youth wisdom test, a mental age test, even the impossible quiz. They also have many tests and articles on various topics.
Seems like they're catering to a wide range of interests.
Right. And they have a blog where they share insights on self-discovery and spiritual growth.
It sounds like they're creating a community for people who are passionate about these topics. Do they offer anything else besides tests and articles?
Yes. They have a section for user comments and reviews.
That's a great way to build trust and transparency. It allows potential test takers to see what others are saying about their experiences.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, exploring the insights and features of the spiritual awakening test.
Yes.
Discussing the value of taking such tests, and even getting a glimpse into the broader offerings of the Spiritual Seek website.
And we've had some truly insightful conversations along the way.
But our journey isn't over yet. Join us in part 3 as we wrap up this deep dive and leave you with some final thoughts and reflections on this fascinating topic of spiritual awakening. Welcome back to the deep dive.
As we're wrapping up our exploration of spiritual awakening, I'm curious, what are your big takeaways from all this?
One of the most striking takeaways for me is this emphasis on individual experience. Like there's no, one-size-fits-all path to spiritual awakening. It's a deeply personal journey. It's shaped by our unique backgrounds, our experiences.
It's almost like we each have our own internal compass that's guiding us.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It makes me think about how Joseph Campbell, how he talked about the hero's journey,
right,
as this universal archetype, but the specific path, that each hero takes, it's totally unique.
So how do resources like the Spiritual Seek fit into this idea of a personalized journey?
Well, they can be, really helpful as tools for exploration.
Right. Think of them as like starting points, for people who are curious about this whole concept.
Like a doorway into a larger landscape.
Exactly. But it's really crucial to remember that these are just tools.
Right.
The real work, it happens within, through self-reflection and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions about things.
So the test, the charts, the insights, they're all just like prompts to kind of encourage that deeper self-discovery.
Precisely. They can be catalysts for inner exploration, but we shouldn't mistake them for the destination itself. You know what I mean?
Right. That brings us to another really important point, I think, that need for discernment.
Absolutely.
As we're navigating all these different resources, it's crucial to approach everything with a critical eye, I think.
Totally. To question what resonates with us, what doesn't.
Right.
And to remember that not all information is created equal.
Right.
Some sources might be more reliable than others.
So how can we cultivate that sense of discernment? How do we know what to trust?
Well, it's about developing that strong inner compass,
Okay.
Trusting our intuition, And seeking guidance from those sources that we really trust.
And maybe even being willing to let go of ideas that no longer serve us.
Exactly, yeah. It's an ongoing process of refinement, of aligning ourselves with what feels authentic and true.
You know, as we've been exploring spiritual awakening, I've been struck by how interconnected it all seems. Like everything, you know?
You're right. It touches on so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
Our beliefs, our values, our relationships, our experiences.
Yeah, it's woven into the fabric of our very existence.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it reminds us that spiritual awakening isn't just about like personal transformation.
Right.
It's also about our relationship with the world around us.
With nature, with other beings, with the cosmos.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all part of something much, much larger than ourselves.
And that recognition can lead to a deeper sense of compassion and responsibility.
Absolutely. It can inspire us to live in a way that benefits not only ourselves, but also, you know, the well-being of all beings.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what final thought would you like to leave our listeners with?
What if the true measure of spiritual awakening isn't about achieving some elevated state of consciousness, but about how we show up in the world, you know, how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, how we contribute to the well-being of all.
That's a powerful question. It really shifts the focus from personal attainment to compassionate action.
It's a reminder that spiritual awakening isn't just about, you know, inner transformation, but about how that transformation manifests in our thoughts, our words, and our actions.
Beautifully said. Well, on that note, I want to thank you for joining me on this fascinating exploration of spiritual awakening.
Pleasure was all mine. It's always inspiring to engage in these kinds of conversations, you know.
And a huge thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and maybe even, you know, nudged you a little further along your own unique path of awakening.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking, you know. The journey is the destination.
Until next time, fellow knowledge seekers.